let's have a look at TRVL. And so the thing about TRVL, and this is the really important thing for me, is this. Last time I looked at it, it looked pretty bearish because we were just kind of crazy selling off. Yeah. Closing lower. And then we had a really nice increasing volume buy up yesterday. Okay. That was really important. Because why? Because if you look at the weekly time frame, you go to the Bollinger Bands, what do you see? And I talked about this before in one of my previous streams. I was talking about this midpoint, this 20 MA, the midpoint of the Bollinger Band offering support. And it has, hasn't it? Look, support. Here, look, it's offering support. And you see it when it closed in the weekly time frame, it closed above it. Okay. Now, sometimes that's not good because when it closes above, then the next candle opens underneath and it continues. But here you can see that we're getting a little bit of a buy up on the, you see that? We're getting a little bit of a buy up with increasing volume. And so that's quite a good sign. And here in a 3-day time frame, we're kind of at the midpoint again, and we're getting some quite heavy selling. This candle closes in 8 hours. You see that? And the volume is slightly decreasing, but the volume is still quite high comparatively when you look at this, the volume here, and the price hasn't moved. So we're getting quite heavy absorption here, quite heavy buying here. And that's what I like to see. That's what you want to see. You want to see heavy buying. And that helps, doesn't it? It helps because with something like a liquid token like TRVL, often with the heavy selling, when there's no buying, it just drops, doesn't it? We've seen that in the past. We've seen how, you know, look at that low volume drop. Look at the low volume there. You see, there was no buying, but because there was no buying, it took a minimal amount of selling straight through the all-time low. There was no defense of the all-time low. Look at that, no defense. And then the price just crashed. But it was relatively low volume. And so I'm kind of like still, I mean, we obviously have to see what happens. It's coming to my son, like this is what I was imagining initially. A right shoulder forming here. Look, and the other thing is that we came back above this anchored VWAP, and this is the price of TRVL has done this a couple of times. You see, it's come above it, it found support, come above it, and kind of found support. We lost it, now we come above it. Can we find support? Do we go back down? This is the question. How does this play out? But I do feel that we're getting quite heavy absorption here on TRVL. Otherwise, we're going to form the harmonic. And so that's the kind of two ideas I had. Either we find support here to go up, or we drop down for one last drop for a push. But either way, I am imagining some kind of inverse, and it's kind of very similar to Bitcoin. And I've drawn this out before. It's very different to the past. Like the price of TRVL is actually, in a sense, is mimicking Bitcoin. But I am kind of still seeing an inverse head and shoulders here. Bam, that's the head. How does the shoulder play out? Could it be like that? Or could it just be like that? Yeah, I am still seeing it, and it kind of corresponds with Bitcoin's behavior and what I'm seeing on Bitcoin with an inverse. I talked about the inverse head and shoulder potentially playing out or forming on Bitcoin. And if you do get like a breakout here, then you're looking at a really strong push up, a mega push, and you end up with a God candle. And that's kind of what I'm imagining, a God candle. And we haven't seen that yet. We've only seen God candles to the downside. What we want is a big, amazing candle going upwards, don't we? And so right now, you see the volume is increasing on this month. Look, what's the date today? It's the 9th of September. We're already over half the volume of 2 months ago. You see that? And so we're starting to get quite good volume again, and that's kind of what we want to see on this monthly candle. We want to see an increase in volume if that's possible. That would be really bullish to get this monthly candle going all the way up with an increase in volume. Yeah, to get a really nice God candle pushing up to 3 cents. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm imagining right now. It's hard to imagine when it looks bearish. You see, the thing is, and this is what I keep on saying, when it looks bearish, that's the good time to buy. When everything looks bearish, that's your dip. Huh? And we're not getting the kind of sell-off that we've seen like here or here. This is different because you can see you're selling, you're buying, you're selling, you're buying, you're selling, you're buying, you're selling, you're buying. See that? This is different. So we're clearly getting people buying in this pullback. This is very different to what we've, like when you look at the whole of TRVL, it's very different. We got it here before as well. We got it here before, you see? But that was quite a long sell by, sell by, sell by, and then it did pump all the way up to basically the golden pocket area. But this is kind of like going back to then, and that's kind of what we want to see. It just gives us the confidence and the idea that something big is about to happen with TRVL. It looks kind of, the last weekly candle looks bearish. It does, doesn't it? But let's see how this week plays out. If we can reverse that, maybe with a weekly piercing candle closing above the 50 fib of the previous week body, then maybe next week we can go right back into the highs, and then maybe by the end of the month we can have a pop. And typically with these candles, and this is really important, typically with these candles, you see these red ones all the way from that little green candle there. Typically with these candles, when you get these sharp drops, when the price finally breaks out, it goes up really fast, all the way up to there. Typically that's what happens. Yeah, could take a few weeks, but typically that's what happens. And the reason why we're kind of consolidating and stopping here is because of these two green candles. Simply, it's because of those two green candles. Yeah, that's why the price is kind of struggling here a little bit, because that's where the liquidity was, and that's where the price, people were buying. You see that? And then when the price came back up, they sold, and then they bought, and then they sold, and that's kind of, that indicates that. And so actually all the way up to about there, there's a little resistance here, but there is what I probably expect on this move up. And even though I've got a target for like 3 cents or 3.2, whatever, you know, we could go up 300%, maybe 400%. And then it all depends on the rest of crypto. It depends on alt season. It depends on euphoria. But this is actually really, this becomes really bullish if that was to happen, because you're back in the range. Getting back into the range is bullish on a higher time frame. This whole thing becomes deviation from the range. This whole thing becomes a deviation. You're back in the range. You'll naturally get a sell-off, and then you just have to hold 2 cent low. You hold that as support, and then you could smash up for another move. It could totally happen. It could totally happen. Yeah, you could have a next one big move, and you can have another big move, and then that could be the end. Potentially, you could go up quite nicely to 17.5, whatever, potentially, which is kind of my higher time frame target. Take out all those highs. This whole thing would look bullish. Yeah, it's not all-time highs. Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily matter, because that would give people, potentially everyone who's accumulated TRVL in this last 4 years, a clean exit. And then once you have a clean exit, that allows a reaccumulation in a future kind of bear market. and the accumulation would be just kind of more range bound behavior, holding 2 cents as the low, trying not to go all the way down to the all-time low. I don't think we'll ever go back to the all-time low because the market cap was so low. And if you do end up pushing and pushing all the way up to something like 17 cents, I don't know about the timings, I'm just kind of swiggling at the moment, then yeah, you see that, then the golden pocket would land all the way back at the 2 cent low, or the previous all-time low, which is at 2 cents. At the end of some kind of bear market, you end back at 2 cents, and that gives people this whole thing becomes reaccumulation, and then you have that would be your first kind of big move, 1 2 3 4 5, and so effectively, potentially, we're not going to all-time highs. Maybe 17.5 is the target, and then the next reaccumulation would be all the way down at 2 cents of the golden pocket. If we get enough interest there, and you know the other thing about like Dtravel, these kind of real-world tokens, real-world applications, decentralized real-world applications, they do very well in the bear market. They do very well. And, you know, that's whereas a lot of altcoins will probably go to zero, I think we'll probably consolidate during the bear market for another 1 or 2 years. And then we'll have a real nice chance to smash to the upside and then really attack all-time highs in that scenario. So there's a lot of things that could happen. And so right now, we're just keenly looking at how we can get back into the range. And that's going to be our really first objective. And that's, until that happens, I think it's just buy, not financial advice. Accumulate, buy, not financial advice. Just remember that. None of this is advice. And then trying to get back into the range, to take profit there, to try and reaccumulate. I don't know how this is going to play out. And then for the bulls who are kind of taking profit, 2 cents is the level to defend, back at 2 cents. That would be really nice. If that happens, then we could see another push up to the upside. Possibly the timings are going to be fast. And see, the other thing is that if our alt season now is just one alt season, this is the other thing. So I'm extending the timings. If the alt season now is just like 2 months or 3 months, like October, November, just 2 months, it could be, then we could just get, I don't know how this candle is going to work out this month. Let's just assume that, let's just imagine it's red. Then the next month could be green, bam, green. You could just get like that. Just green, green, green. Just straight up, just wherever. It will just take you to euphoric highs. And even though it's not the all-time high in the sense of TRVL, that would be euphoria, because you've gone all the way up to like 20 cents, 25 cents. That would be quite euphoric for people who are holding TRVL. That would be a really impressive increase in value from where we are, like 3,000%. And that would require a euphoric buyout. It would be like the market, the altcoin market going mental. Buy. And the other thing is, with these like low liquidity altcoins, it is possible. They do move a lot. Once they start moving, they do move a lot. What's interesting is the volume is really nice here. That's really important. Yeah, you see that the volume is really nice. We're starting to continue putting in volume here, and the sell volume is being absorbed. So it's really good to see. If you go to the Dtravel, X page, just keep an eye on it. Look at this. We're making a list. As a crypto traveler, you should be here, don't you? MFers traveling all in crypto. I don't really know what that means, but whatever. It's quite funny. We're excited to introduce the newest feature on Dtravel, Upsells. A brand new feature in Dtravel that lets you offer guests optional add-on services and products with their reservations. Hosts can now boost revenue with add-ons Airport pickup, late checkout, etc. Personalize every stay with unique services. Stay flexible, meaning guests can choose extras at checkout. Amazing for that. So here you go. Wow. Laundry service, airport pickup. This is amazing. So you see, we're growing. We're doing, this is even better than Airbnb. Airbnb doesn't have this, and we have this. And so Dtravel, the application, is becoming a real mammoth. It's starting to take shape, and eventually we're going to explode. I keep on talking about the explosion. Eventually we're going to explode on the real world network. We have a really important initiative here in El Salvador, and this is why I'm here. This is why I'm here, to be part of that, to lead that in many ways, to contribute, to be the Dtravel rep, the representative here, the face, and to explain and to share about Dtravel, and to share about my experiences with Airbnb and with hosting. Go and have a look at my previous videos. If you go to my YouTube channel, you will see that I've made a lot of videos about TRVL. I've got a playlist. If you go to my playlist, I've got 250 videos. What the hell? And the dark green ones are, generally speaking, about the price and the charts. The light green ones are generally speaking about the fundamentals and the business. Yeah, this is an important one. Dtravel and TRVL, my 65k crypto booking journey. Go and have a look at that. You'll understand why I'm bullish on the business, who I am, and what I'm doing here in El Salvador. I've talked about it a few times, my El Salvador mission, and these light green ones are good. So yeah, and then obviously I kind of do the charts for fun. It's kind of entertainment, really. So it kind of gives people something to be interested in. And I think it does help, you know, like some people, I tell people, give some people some keen advice: skim at the highs, reaccumulate at the lows. And I think some people are paying attention. Right now, when you go to the local time frame, we're getting a little bit of a selling. This is because of Bitcoin. Naturally, you see that it's a bit because of Bitcoin, but let's just see how this plays out. This is my kind of two ideas that I have. Either we just consolidate here or we go lower. Okay, it's kind of the two ideas. But yesterday's buy was impressive. It was a really nice buy up with an increase in volume. That's what you want to see. With the buy ups, you want to see increasing volume. Yeah, with the green candles, you want to see increasing volume. With the red candles, you want to see decreasing volume. Okay, if you start seeing that, that gives you the confidence that actually this is eventually going to come to an end. Like I said on Sunday, I was talking about the indicators. I was talking about bullish divergences forming, and there are. You can see it. Now it's a lot more evident that the daily time frame MACD is dropped. This is still higher low. This is lower low. You see that? My CCI is now coming into a support level. It's coming to -100. The 3-day chart, the CCI is coming to a support level. It's come to 0. On the weekly chart, there's no CCI. Why is there no CCI? That's weird. Let me just have a look at that. It should be. There it is. In the weekly, you're getting a little bit of pullback there. That's fine. You see on the 12-hour time frame, look at that. Look at the CCI there. Sorry, the MACD. Look at that hidden bullish divergence forming there. So we're getting quite heavy absorption. This is what I talked about, the hidden bullish absorption here. And so that just gives me the confidence that we are now bottoming. We've bottomed out. For me, this is a bottom. And then what we want to see next is the impulsive God candle. That's what's going to happen next. A really nice bam. And what we want to see of the God candle is mega volume. Really nice volume. That's what we want to see. crazy volume. Yeah, if we can get that, then we're rolling. Yeah, then maybe this 3-month candle looks bullish. It is bullish candles. It's a piercing already. The next one, another 3-month green candle. Maybe that can be our God candle, 3-month God candle. Bam, taking us all the way to these highs. I don't know how high we'll get, but you know, the higher the better. It'd be nice if we could go all the way up to take out these highs, all the way up to the top. That would be really bullish if that happened. And then obviously I would say bearish in this circumstance would be just to kind of do another lower high. But you have to be keen to take profit now in this next move up after the price expands, and then looking to kind of defend 2 cents. That's what we want to do. We want to kind of take profit. If we can recapture the range, we'll all take a little bit of profit and then wait for 2 cents. Yeah, and see if we can kind of reaccumulate at 2 cents type thing, assuming that there's a reaction and then there's a bit of an alignment with the fibs and volume and everything else. So anyway, that's kind of TRVL for today. I might stream again either tomorrow or the day after. I'm just kind of like, I will definitely stream on Friday, but I'm probably going to be streaming a little bit, maybe another stream tomorrow. It's quite a tense moment, you know, and all season is on the door, is beckoning. And so that's kind of what I'm feeling. And then so, wow, look at that. That was bearish. And so we just want to see, I don't want us to miss that. Huh? I just want us to see how that plays out. Okay. That's kind of what's on my mind. Okay. So right now we're getting a pullback. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the last pullback before we can get the pump. So naturally I say, remember Bitcoin, I said, wait for the breakout. It didn't happen. And now we're looking for lower at the moment, or the price could always just kind of just take out these lows here, any one of these lows, and reverse. But that's Bitcoin. All right. So have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Tuesday. And I'll definitely see you on Friday, but otherwise possibly tomorrow or the day after I'll do another stream, depending on what I'm kind of, I'll keep an eye on the charts now. I'm keenly looking at the charts, keeping an eye on them, and we'll get back to you. The other thing I wanted to say actually about TRVL, this is actually quite interesting. I kind of wanted to talk about this. I didn't mention it. Let's go back to TRVL. That obviously didn't play out. Let's get rid of these brush strokes. Sometimes I imagine things and they don't quite play out, which is fine. It's normal, isn't it? It's like, it's all entertainment, isn't it? So when I'm looking at the TRVL versus Bitcoin chart, and this is kind of a combined chart, so there's no actual trading going on in this chart. It's just an idea of where the price was and where the value was when the price was at that value, and then where the volume came at those values. And here you can see that we are, look at this, at the point of control. Look at that. And we found, yesterday we found support. We had a reaction off the point of control against the Bitcoin chart. This is what I wanted to see, and this, we're seeing what I wanted to see. That's a reaction. If we can hold support here, that will be a confirmed back test. And you can see the volume. The volume is a mega. Okay, and possibly in this circumstance, the target, if we can go up, if we can find support here, and this is a really good place to buy TRVL against Bitcoin, because you can see, if you zoom in, you can see we've had a reaction. We've had a reaction on the point of control. Yeah, so there's a little bit of an SR flip going on here. See that? A little bit of an SR flip. And it's the highest volume node with respect to Bitcoin against TRVL. So this is the right place. Yeah. And if we do kind of, if you look at the value area, I think probably what I'd be thinking about is, and this actually looks more like an inverse head and shoulders than the other chart. Look, it kind of looks like it could be an inverse head and shoulders. If we can find support here and break out to the upside, get back above that lost trend line, and then maybe we can kind of smash our way through to the value area high And best case scenario would be to take out that high and then fall back in. Okay. And that's kind of, again, the timing's all wrong. So I don't know how this would play out, because we're running out of time, and I'd like to see how this plays out, but bam, bam. If we can take out that high, that would be a V-shaped recovery after an inverse head and shoulders against Bitcoin. Taking out that high would be really impressive. And then for the pullback, probably in this circumstance, all the way back down into the value area, golden pocket, back test that trend line. Huh? And that's kind of what I probably would imagine against Bitcoin in the future, in the bear market, to come to kind of have a really nice breakout. In this circumstance, when the price is, if it did go all the way up there, that would be 1,000% increase against Bitcoin, and then like a 10x against Bitcoin. So if you have 1 Bitcoin's worth of TRVL, you end up at those highs. If we take out those highs, you end up with 10 Bitcoin's worth of TRVL. That would be a really nice take profit for a V-shaped recovery. That's kind of what I would love to see, and that's what I'm imagining. And then for a really bullish reversal, and then the pullback in the bear market, you'd clearly get a big take profit, and people fall back into the value area, and then you end up putting volume back in the value area in a bear market. But then if we were able to do that, I don't imagine that we'll go back to the all-time low, just because the market cap was so low. The market cap was a shade over $2 million. And if we're able to expand now with 1,000% increase in value against Bitcoin, with the value that's been extracted by people taking profit, I don't think we'll ever see all-time lows again. And in my mind, over the course of a bear market, that would be really bullish, because then the rest of the bear market would just simply be accumulation. And that during that period, the real world project would just go from strength to strength, because it also enables Dtravel, enables the team at Dtravel, enables people like me, keen supporters who are passionate about decentralized travel, to take the word out and to promote and push and onboard in places like El Salvador, Central South America, where I am now. So this is really interesting. So keep an eye on this. I'll kind of keep an eye on this. And like I said, I'll possibly stream again tomorrow or the day after, depending on what I'm seeing. But this is looking okay. Huh? This is looking quite nice. Keep an eye on this. Potentially we're forming a right shoulder here against Bitcoin. That's quite nice. All right. So have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And then we'll see you soon.